Dynamic drivers were supposed to be the budget choice, the compromise you settled for when you couldn't afford planar magnetic. HEDD just broke that rule entirely. For years, the industry taught us that if you wanted true reference grade accuracy, you had to go planar or pay double. HEDD built their entire reputation on one specific driver technology, then threw that formula out to prove a dynamic driver could do what everyone said was impossible. If you're still assuming dynamic means lesser, you're about to skip the one headphone under $1,000 that may change what you think that word even means. To fully appreciate the Headphone D1's sound quality and performance, you've got to understand HEDD's history and experience. This isn't a headphone company that stumbled into studio monitor production. It's actually the reverse. HEDD's founder, Heinz Klaus, has been chasing accurate sound since he was running a hi-fi shop in Berlin, Germany over 20 years ago. And it was there that a new pair of speakers came through the door with a tweeter design that stopped him dead in his tracks. AMT, the Air Motion Transformer tweeter. That one encounter right there sparked an obsession with modernizing the tweeter. That obsession led him to found Atom Audio and spend 15 years engineering studio monitor drivers built around the same AMT technology before HEDD Audio ever existed. By the time he started HEDD, the goal wasn't to build something that sounded impressive, but to create something that revealed the truth, because that's what studio engineers actually need. And AMT stayed the foundation. It's the driver technology HEDD built its entire studio monitor lineup on, and it's the reason the Headphone 1 and Headphone 2 both carried an AMT driver into the headphone world. So when they decided to build their first ever dynamic driver headphone, they weren't going to just license an off-the-shelf design and call it done. Stepping away from the AMT that had defined every product that they made meant proving that the same reference grade philosophy could live inside a completely different driver technology. So the big question here is, what did they change to make a dynamic driver behave like something else entirely? The answer is the diaphragm. The D1 uses what's called a Thin-Ply Carbon Diaphragm, designed in partnership with Composite Sound out of Sweden, and it's the first time that this material has shown up in a dynamic headphone. It's the same composite used in Formula One cars and NASA's Mars helicopter Ingenuity. It's engineered to control structural resonance in extreme, unforgiving conditions. So in headphone design, it eliminates the need for traditional damping at the diaphragm level to keep everything in check. Less damping means less mass fighting the signal. Less mass means faster, cleaner, more accurate motion. And those attributes are reflected in the D1's sound quality. But before we jump right into sound, I've got something to tell you. Every listener's path to great sound is a little bit different, and finding your audio nirvana is really about knowing which milestones matter most to you right now. We put together a short quiz that helps you map out your specific audio journey. It'll generate a personalized listening profile and expert guides tailored to your current stage. And you can also enter our monthly Dragon Cable giveaway once you finish. If you're ready to get some clarity, click the first link in the description below. Now let's jump right back into the video. The D1 is designed specifically with audiophiles and audio pros in mind, delivering you a sound quality that's neutral, balanced, and clear. It's got a high level of transparency that's comparable to some of Audio's LCD headphones and Sennheiser models. This is the headphone that you use for intentional listening. You know, those times when you want to dive into a song and really hear it for what it is, rather than just escape and get lost in the music. And for me, that meant ditching today's pop tracks that I'm used to listening to and navigating over to the classic hits, you know, the oldies, if you will. I queued up Dusty Springfield's hit, Son of a Preacher Man, took a sip of my green tea at my desk, and I sat back, patiently awaiting to see what the D1 had to reveal. A track I knew like the back of my hand was presented in a new light. It was unobstructed, raw, and lifelike. The D1's mid-range was the star of the show here, capturing the hushed, borderline lustful nature of Dusty's vocals beautifully, while the rhythmic cymbal ping in the background was sharp. It was so sharp that I could hear the decay of each note clearly, and I could pick out exactly where it sits in line with other instruments. So while it might not add warmth or color, its natural, lifelike presentation makes it highly addictive to listen to. There's no sharpening the top end to sound exciting or beefing up the bass for more impact. It operates as a reference monitor that presents you with the most transparent, accurate sound quality. That thin-ply diaphragm pays dividends in this regard. Transients are fast and clean, and the frequency response, rated from 5 Hz all the way to 40 kHz, creates the headroom that you need for a more detailed and accurate sound quality. While the D1 can realistically suit anyone chasing sonic perfection, it calls out to discerning audiophiles, critical listeners ready to pick apart a composition and truly appreciate all of the work that goes into making a track a masterpiece. And you don't need a rack of gear to reap those benefits either. At 32 ohms and 100 dB sensitivity, the D1 runs clean off a portable DAP like the SP4000T just as easily as it does off a dedicated unit like the iFi Audio Valkyrie DAC headphone amplifier, which is what I use during my testing. If you want to push the D1 even further, I've got something for you. We're excited to offer you our Dragon headphone cables with connectors built to match the D1. I personally enjoy warmth and musicality, which, yes, I know is contrary to the D1's sound, so I found that our Bronze Dragon headphone cable got the job done for me in that department. It added subtle dynamics and musicality to the low end and mid-range without infringing on what makes the D1 special. Then you've got the Silver Dragon, which builds on everything that the D1 excels at. You can shop both of these headphone cables and our entire Dragon audio cable collection at moon-audio.com. If you're ready to upgrade, go check it out. So let's get into the design and what it's actually like to use them every day. HEDD kept the physical design simple. It's got an understated look, closer to what you'd expect from studio headphones, lightweight, practical, than the flashier, more ornate builds that you see across a lot of high-end headphones. At 350 grams, I had no problem wearing them for a couple of hours while working before my ears told me that I needed a break. And that lightweight feel is largely due to the diaphragm's low mass and compact architecture that keeps the driver light and responsive. Less material inside means less weight on your head without having to cut corners anywhere else. The fit? Well, that's incredibly comfortable too. The clamping force sits right in the middle. It's not so loose that it feels unstable, but it's not so tight that it starts hurting an hour into a listening session. The headband and ear pads, they're both generously padded and wrapped in velour. Your instinct might be that velour runs hot and it feels restrictive compared to alternative fabrics. But that instinct is wrong here. The ear pads breathe and they stay comfortable during long sessions instead of turning it into that hot, airless enclosure that leaves your ears fatigued after just 30 minutes. As for the headband extension system, it uses a knot-style slider so that you get micro adjustments and really can dial in that perfect fit. And in the box, HEDD didn't cut corners either, including a hardshell carrying case, a 3.5mm cable with a 1/4-inch adapter, a velvet bag to store that cable in, and dust removers for the ear pads. It's got everything you need and nothing that you don't. Look, at the end of the day, the D1 isn't the headphone trying to be everything to everyone. And that's exactly why it works. Built for the listener who wants studio-level honesty without studio-level compromise on comfort. Someone who can sit with a pair of headphones for hours, not just minutes, and still hear every detail as clearly at the end of the session as they did at the start. So if you've been chasing reference-grade sound, but you don't want to choke on the price tag or the weight of a planar setup to get there, then the D1 is the headphone that finally lets you have both. In a nutshell, the Headphone D1 challenges the traditional idea of a dynamic driver headphone. It's built for the discerning listener chasing reference-grade accuracy, bringing together the intimacy of headphone listening with the precision of studio monitors. At under $1,000, HEDD handed audiophiles studio-grade tonal balance without asking them to go planar or spend 2 to 3 times as much to get there. And don't let the word neutral fool you here, because there's nothing clinical about how alive these headphones make a track feel. If you're curious about what gear to pair with the D1, start with the iFi Valkyrie review, the DAC amp I used to put the D1 through its paces. We've got the full review right here, breaking down whether it's the right DAC amp pairing for your setup. Go check that out now. Happy listening, and we'll see you next time.